So with us starting to use QuickBase, one of the requirements for planning will be to upload the premise data for areas that are being planned or ready to be planned. The reason for this is that the premise data that we upload can then be used by build and by the SMI guys to do SMI, or just to make sure that everything is on par with regards to what kind of unit count we're expecting, just for everyone to have quick access to that, not to have to go and ask the planner any time that they need the actual values. So with premises, once you've done your initial premise setup and you've done your preliminary premise data and you've added the block and AGs to these premises, I have something that looks like this, which has the premise type, premise description, AG, block, street name, latitude, longitude, and like the suburb or Firebird. This geo-suburb value is just a relation to the actual suburb in case a Firebird runs across a few suburbs at once, just to keep track of the correct location of that premise. So the other thing that you need to have on this list is also the MDU unit count or unit numbers. So I'm just going to select all of this, I'm going to copy it and paste it to a blank Excel sheet. So once you've done that, you can delete the first column, and you can also delete everything at the back except the unit counts. So what you'll notice is you've got a premise description where there's an MDU, you've got a premise description for that MDU, and then you've also got your AGN block and everything that you really need with regards to the premise data. One thing you'll need to do is you just need to add the prefix for the area onto your upload that you're going to do, because otherwise you're going to have 100 different areas on the same AG1, and you just need to have an identifier to keep them separate. So for AGs, let's do well, you're going to have equals and the area name, so equals DND dash, and that's going to be the text that you add to the beginning of the AG number. And if you take this all the way down, it's going to have AG1, 2, 3 and so on. Next you have the blocks. To do this, you can just copy and paste. It will have the correct data in there already, because it's just the same prefix, DND for Dundee in this case. So once you've done this, all you need to do is just copy and paste values on the same spot, copy and paste values on the same spot. Then you can delete these two columns. You've then got your AG and block. Okay, now this is almost ready to be uploaded. What you need to do next is just go to a separate sheet, and you're going to want to go and paste these values. What I've done is I've also added conditional formatting and duplicate values to this column. So you can just select these first two columns, and you're going to have to say under data, remove duplicates, and OK. Next thing you need to do is copy the AGs and paste, and once again remove duplicates. And then what you need to do is you need to add the fiber hood here. So fiber hood will be Dundee. Okay. Now, once you've got your blocks here, it's just good practice to go down and check if there are anything or there are any issues with the naming of the blocks. First thing I'm noticing is that we've got a duplicate here, so one block in two AGs. What you're going to need to do is just add an A here to make sure that they're different, and then on the planning you will need to separate that block. So if you're not the planner working on that area, it's going to be a good idea to make sure that they do this, otherwise the premise data and the actual planning won't match up, and that's going to also cause the QuickBase not to match up with the planning. So it's very important that any changes that are made here is updated to the actual plans. Now the next thing I'm noticing is that we've got a lot of BLs. So if we look at these BLs, there's B to indicate the block, which is correct, and then we've also got the BLs. So what we need to do is we need to go and remove all of these BLs that we have here. So I'm just going to say control find and replace, and I'm going to change BL to just B. Okay, and replace all. Now if we go down, we can see that we've got only B's. But now the other issue is that we've got B0s, but there is supposed to be B0s here as well. So what you'll need to do now is just make sure that everything is uniform. An easier way of doing this would be to go and extract all of the B's, or the DND-B. So DND-B, and I'm just going to remove this so that it says, so there's only numbers remaining. Now what you'll notice is there are going to be sections where there's an A and a B, or maybe even a C, but these will be easy enough to just fix manually. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say equals here. Let me just zoom in so that you can see this formula clearly enough, and it's going to be a good thing to change that as well. Okay, so you're going to have equals, and you're going to have text again, which will be the D and D dash, but you also have the B. And then seeing as this 20 needs to be shown as 3 letters, you're going to have an and you want to say text, and the value that you want to use is this 20, but the value that you want it in is the 3 zeros. So this is how you want it to look, and then when you say enter, it's going to have the correct look to it. Now if you just double click this down, it should have created everything correctly except for these A's. Now since these are isolated, it's going to be easy to fix them. What you're going to do is you can just copy this and paste values so that the formula disappears, and just manually add your zeros wherever they needed. There we've got a few more. Ah, this one's fine, fine, and fine. Okay, so that's fixed everything. So just delete this column and we've got block names here. Okay, now it's time to start the upload. To do the upload, you're going to select your layers and copy them. Then you're going to head off to QuickBase and then you're going to start at Aggregations. Now clicking on this More Actions button, you can see there's an import and export. You want to click that and then you want to click Import Table from Clipboard, and all you do here is you paste your values. So you see there's AG, fiberwood, and you've got all your values here. Now when you click import, it's going to give you a warning message to say that there's already values here, and just make sure that everything, or there's no duplicates basically. So if you look at the uploads that you're going to do, row 1 has AG and then fiberwood, so just tick that box and it will use those AG and fiberwood values as your indicator. Now aggregation is then looking correct. Fiberwood, the correct fiberwood name is here, so all you say is import with update, and there, new records created. Okay, 25, so we're happy with that. Then you need to move on to the blocks. So once again it's the same thing, but you just need to go to your Excel sheet and just Control A to select everything, copy it and paste it into this table. Then when you say import data, it should give you all of this correctly. Now one thing you just need to make sure you check is that the field label is correct. So aggregations should be over aggregations and block name should be over blocks. If I, for instance, only named this block, it might have used this as the block and this as the aggregation. It's just something to keep an eye out for. Okay, we've uploaded this. There's 179, so that's also going quite well. Now we need to upload the premises. It's again the same thing, and going back to our spreadsheet, we've just going to do a last check on everything here. So we've got SDUs, MDUs, premise descriptions. We've got these. These aren't going to match with what we've got on this sheet anymore. So what we need to do now is just make sure that we've got all of the values correct.
A few minutes later.
Okay, so everything's been updated and I've just copied across this column now to the block column. Maybe just add that out that I removed. Okay, so all I need to do is just delete this and select all. One thing I'm noticing as well here is that there's a lot of, the values have U's behind them. So I'm just going to go and remove all of these U's. Okay, so you've got a number only. Now Control all and then copy. Then going on to the clipboard for the premise data, it's going to have SDUs and all of the data that's needed here. So first thing, we don't need to use, or we don't want to use AGs here, so we're not going to import the AG over here. we will have the premise name and we have a premise type. So what you notice is everything should correspond, but if you're not sure which row is which, you can also always just untick this, make sure that you are selecting the correct values, latitude, longitude. Make sure latitude is the minus value whenever you're working in South Africa. That will be the norm. And then suburb is the suburb. So now what we can do is just import this. So importing all of these, new records, no existing records that were updated. So everything was working 100% the way we wanted it to. The only time you will want to upload to existing records is if you are doing a mass correction of addresses. For instance, there was a wrong street name used and you're changing all those street names. But in those cases, please contact IT or myself and we will assist you with that. It's not something that we want you to do because it can break the premise data table and cause additional premises to be created if you're not uploading everything correctly. So going to the premise data table and the block table and aggregations. What you see is under aggregations you've got all of these Dundees. They've already added the province, the town, network type, region and name aren't selected because it's not being set up correctly on the Firebird side. So let's quickly have a look there. Dundee. Okay, so here's our Dundee. Just waiting for it to open. What we can see is we've got the Firebird name, we've got everything here, but I'm not sure which backhaul provider was used. There's some estimate values here, but from what we've uploaded, you can see there's 2,395 SDUs and 46 MDUs. So that automatically gets counted. Total number of billable premises 2447, total number of blocks, and then number of aggregations. So everything gets calculated automatically from here down once you've uploaded the premise data, which makes everything a lot easier to actually implement or to read the premise data values, and it should prevent us from having an issue of not having the correct unit counts when reporting to clients. Then next step is going to be feeders. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to upload a core cable and and feeders for your area, but we'll give you one-on-one training for this, and once you've gone through that training, it should help you just do it quickly and easily, along with uploading stock to the blocks. Now looking at the blocks, we've got Dundee's blocks. We've got quite a few here, so they're not all going to be on the first page, but you can see all of the blocks are here, and that's exactly what you wanted. Then we've also got the premises here, so you can see this premise is linked to block 158 of Dundee, so everything is also working correctly over here. Now what I can just maybe do quickly is go in here and show you what we can do with these values. So knowing that the build people, or well, the project managers, are going to be on site and they might have premises that are missing, or they've got additional premises. What we're going to do is we're going to have a table here that they can say add premise. They just add the premise details and the block that it's associated to that link, and then submit it. And they're going to say if it needs to be removed or added. Then if it's on that list, you can just go and add it to the planning as well, and add it to your premises on the premise data table. That will then allow us to keep track of where we've added or removed premises, and should keep our premise counts accurate, and also allow the build teams to more accurately update these values. Okay, so that's basically it for uploading premise data. One more thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a report that will allow you to just go and click on download under the premise data table. You'll be able to select it over here. Then once you've clicked download, it will download the premise data with all of the correct columns already, so that you can just download and submit immediately to Vumatel for them to upload to their QuickBase. Okay, so that's it. Thanks for watching.